How's this going to turn out? Is it going to be a good thing or a bad thing for us as we go forward?
I honestly don't know. I think of the last couple months as a dress rehearsal. The AI that we have right now is pretty primitive compared to the AI that we want to get to. It lies a lot, it makes a lot of mistakes. It's a chance to think about regulation, how we want to have rollouts of more and more sophisticated artificial intelligence. And I think it's up to us eventually. And ultimately, is this going to be a good thing or a bad thing? Are we going to have the right policies around it? Are we going to have the right technical procedures to verify to make sure it works in the way that we have for an airplane? We make sure that the airplane meets certain standards. We don't really have those standards yet for AI. So I say this is a dress rehearsal. We kind of bungled it, and let's figure out how to do it better so that when it really is smarter than us, which may happen someday, that we have some control around it and that it does become a good thing rather than a bad thing.
So, Eric, as a professor and scholar, do you feel teachers should accept AI assistance?
There's two schools of thought on that. There are a lot of teachers at high school, college level that are trying to stop their students from using it. There's even an AI conference that banned the researchers from using these tools to help them. I think that's a losing strategy that ultimately there's no holding this back. I'm going to tell the students to embrace it, and I expect them to do that much better essays and that much more insightful analyses. But as Gary mentioned, these tools are far from perfect. They're going to have to keep humans in the loop. And ultimately, I see this potentially as being a tool for enhanced creativity and better output, but there's no holding it back.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's here and there's no holding it back. Let me ask you guys by a show of hands, how many of you are scared by the advent of AI? Raise your hand. How many of you are excited by it? Okay. How many of you are scared and excited by it? Yeah, I got my hand up on that. Now, since November 2022, everyone has been talking about ChatGPT, owned by OpenAI, which is a popular AI chatbot. You ask ChatGPT a question, and it instantly generates a human-like response based on the data that has been programmed into the system. If I put in a question, how would Dr. Phil introduce the idea of artificial intelligence on an episode? It instantly prints out the following. Welcome to today's show. We're going to be talking about a topic that's both fascinating and somewhat daunting, artificial intelligence. That's taking information it's got on AI and information that it's got on me and merging that together, right? And generating what the artificial intelligence suggests that I might say. Is that how that's
true.
working?
There have been a lot of parodies of me on the internet because I'm one of the leading skeptics of AI. So people feed me into ChatGPT and they send it to me on Twitter. Everybody thinks they're the first person to send it to me on Twitter. I've gotten a lot of these. And it captures kind of my conclusions, but not the details of my style. I like to go into like, what's the latest result? Let's analyze this. Did people make a mistake in the analysis? And it doesn't capture that. I was talking to a new friend who's friends with Chris Rock yesterday. That's what happens when you visit Los Angeles. And he fed in Chris Rock's jokes or asked it to write Chris Rock's jokes. And it knew some of Chris's jokes, but it couldn't write a new joke that was as funny as something that Chris could write. So it kind of, it's memorized a lot of things. It might have the gist. It might even get, some of the words that are some of the punchlines, but it doesn't have the depth of human understanding to be original. When it writes me, so to speak, it doesn't really capture the flair of my word choice. It tends to use boring words. It doesn't capture my incisiveness, I hope, about the data and like what it all means, but it kind of captures the end lines. Sometimes when you have it write a story about famous characters, it will actually botch them. Like there was a Wall Street Journal essay, I think, about having it write a term paper and it sort of assigned lines to one character instead of the other. So sometimes it gets the detail wrong. It always kind of gets most of the gist right, but it's not so great on detail. If I could go back to something that Eric said, I think as a teacher or a retired teacher in some sense, that the right thing to do is have students write essays with these things and then tear them apart and say what would be better. So how could you write a better essay? What mistakes did it make? How could you tell a more interesting story?
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.